It was a warm spring afternoon and everything looked flawless. The garden was glowing with light and life. White orchids cascaded from the archway like silk threads pulled from the sky. A string quartet played soft, classical notes that drifted across the lawn while laughter rang out from all corners. Champagne flutes clinked in celebration as guests milled about, their conversations buoyant under the warmth of the sun. My younger brother Daniel stood at the altar in a sharply tailored navy suit, his smile stretching from ear to ear like he'd just won the damn lottery. And maybe he had. He was marrying Vanessa, the elegant daughter of a high-powered family. The kind of family whose name gets whispered at country clubs and opens doors at elite business circles. She had charm, poise, and a last name that weighed more than gold. I stood beside him, proud as ever, wearing the badge of best man like it meant something sacred. Wow, we'd built so much together. Our company, our name, our legacy. I looked at him and felt like this was the culmination of it, all until the moment I realized it, while Lily, my wife, had been off all day. She wore a deep green dress that always brought out the warmth in her eyes, but today they held no light. Her fingers gripped mine tighter each time someone raised a glass to toast the bride and groom. Her laughter, usually warm and effortless, was nowhere to be found. I chalked it up to her discomfort with Vanessa. They never really clicked, but I didn't ask questions. Should've. Later, just as the reception began and the newlyweds moved into their first slow dance, Lily leaned, in her breath quick and sharp against my ear. "We have to leave now." I blinked, startled. What? Why? They haven't even cut the cake yet. She didn't answer. She just grabbed her purse and repeated the words, her voice low but edged with something cold and urgent. "Explain in the car." The silence during the drive was unlike anything I'd ever felt with her. No music, no words, just the steady hum of the tires on pavement and the occasional blur of passing headlights. I was still in my tux, bow tie loosened, hands gripping the steering wheel, while my brain spiraled with questions. I said finally, my voice strained with confusion. "What's going on?" She didn't speak right away. She just kept staring straight ahead, her fingers ringing in her lap like she was bracing for impact. It wasn't until we were halfway home and the city lights faded behind us and the road ahead turned quiet and dark that she finally spoke. "You really didn't notice?" Her voice cracked slightly. I glanced at her, brows furrowed. "Notice what?" She turned her head, her eyes glassy and filled with something heavier than just sadness. "That wasn't a wedding, Jake. That was a trap." My pulse surged. "What the hell are you talking about?" "Daniel just got married." She shook her head slowly. "No, Daniel just finalized a deal to destroy you." I pulled into our driveway, heart pounding against my ribs like a war drum. My mind frantically trying to unravel what I'd just heard. "Destroy me?" I said again, the words foreign in my own voice. "Daniel is my brother." She got out of the car slowly, her movements rigid, shaky. "He was, but not anymore." He stepped into the house, the quiet almost too loud. The second the door clicked shut behind us, Lily pulled out her phone, her hands trembling slightly. She opened an email thread and handed the screen to me. Stared down at it, and my stomach twisted at the top. Daniel's name. The subject line hit like a slap. Shareholder transfer. Agreement final draft. Attached was a copy of our company's equity contract. I scrolled, each word slicing deeper than the last. Daniel and I co-owned a fast-growing logistics company. A 50-50th split, born from late nights, sacrifices, and relentless hustle. We built it from nothing, every warehouse, every contract, every algorithm. But here it was in black and white. Daniel had started transferring shares to a holding company. Quietly, strategically, legally, and then I saw it. A clause I'd long forgotten. If one partner is compromised due to misconduct, fraud, abuse, moral failings, they forfeit their stake. A buried line, a technicality, and he'd weaponized it. The wedding, Lily said quietly, was a smokescreen, celebration of my downfall. She explained it all in one breathless rush, like holding it in had physically hurt her. During my best man, Speech. She'd noticed a few men in suits lingering around. Not relatives, not friends. They weren't mingling, just watching. She followed one of them discreetly during the cocktail hour, catching him on a private call. Yeah, he'd said. Once the press release hits, and Jake's name is tied to the scandal, we move the shares into Daniel's holding firm. Handled it all, Vanessa. Daniel's new wife. It suddenly clicked. She wasn't just another socialite. She was a corporate attorney from a law firm notorious for hostile takeovers. She was the architect, the mastermind. And Daniel my own. Brother had sold me out. For what? Money? Prestige? Her Lily turned to me, her voice barely above a whisper. They're about to pin something on you. I don't know what fraud, abuse, maybe they'll fabricate an affair. Whatever it is, it's launching this week. That wasn't a wedding, Jake. It was a press op, a legal decoy, when you were the target. I sat on the couch, the truth suffocating me. My own blood had planned this, but I wasn't going to crumble. I wasn't going to let them watch me fall apart. Not like this. Not without a fight. The next morning, I didn't go to the office. I didn't call Daniel or send him a single text. I didn't throw a fit or act wounded. Instead, I brewed a pot of strong coffee, sat at the kitchen table, quietly opened my laptop. Over the years, I had embedded layers into our infrastructure, my own digital fail-safes. I had quietly maintained admin access to every tool we used: email servers, database access, proprietary algorithms. Everything. Daniel thought I was predictable. He didn't know I'd built a kill switch.
I logged into our systems.
Vanessa's firm had already begun transferring code and access to off-site servers, likely trying to clone our backend before launching their attack. Rookie move. I rerouted. Everything in stealth. Then, I downloaded audit log stamped metadata of their access, their theft, their breach of contract, coinciding perfectly with the wedding date, and then I opened an encrypted folder I hadn't touched in years. My just-in-case file. Inside was Daniel's recklessness. All of it. Deleted Slack messages showing him threatening junior developers. Voice memos from his drunken nights boasting about tax evasion and offshore accounts. A video of him secretly closing a supplier deal we both vetoed just to pocket a personal commission. At the time, it all seemed petty. Now, it was dynamite. Lily and I became a unit. She took charge of the narrative, feeding carefully curated pieces to Key. Journalists' anonymous tips about Daniel's misconduct, screenshots of documents, just enough to stir the water. I called my lawyer and prepped for emergency arbitration. No waiting, no begging. I wasn't looking for survival. Wanted a clean, devastating takedown. At noon, Daniel called me. Twice I didn't answer. Vanessa emailed. Jake, we believe there's been a misunderstanding. Let's discuss an amicable separation of your stake. I didn't respond. Instead, I scheduled a company-wide board meeting for 9 a.m. the next day. I added one extra guest, Special Agent Martin Reyes, from the Federal Business Crime Division. Vanessa's firm had cut corners. I knew it, and Daniel had definitely forged documents. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. No. This was felony dash level. At 8:58 a.m., I walked into the boardroom. Glass walls, steel chairs, polished wood-hour empire gleamed. Daniel sat at the far end, relaxed and smug, arms folded, playing the part of a man in control. Vanessa sat beside him, cool and collected, flipping through a legal binder like she was reviewing a client portfolio. Around the table sat our investors, department heads, and at the far corner, Agent Reyes. No one had dared ask why he was there. Not yet. Daniel spoke first, his voice smugged and syrupy. Jake, you didn't have to do all this. You've been ... off lately. It's distracted. Maybe this is for the best. I didn't flinch. I simply opened a black folder and slid it to the center of the table. Let's begin. Inside were printed emails, logs, confidential timelines. It was brutal. Then I plugged in the flash drive. On screen, Daniel at a bar, half drunk, laughing. Jake doesn't even know I skimmed half the margin. Little secret? The next clip? Vanessa, on the terrace at the wedding. Once the press sees the abuse story, he's done. Take the company by Tuesday. Silence crashed over the room. Vanessa's smile cracked. Daniel's eyes widened. Agent Reyes stood. Mr. Daniel Carter, Ms. Vanessa Hale, you are now persons of interest in an active federal investigation for corporate fraud, document forgery, and conspiracy to commit economic sabotage. Panic filled the room. 2 federal agents stepped in and escorted them out. Daniel, my brother, my partner, looked pale, the weight of his unraveling crashing down like steel. In the aftermath, everything exploded. The scandal hit the business. Media first, then spilled everywhere. Vanessa's firm dumped her within 12 hours. Daniel was disgraced. Investors issued formal apologies to me. The board voted unanimously to remove Daniel and offered me the role of sole CEO. And still, I didn't feel triumphant. Just clear. I visited my parents. When they opened the door, their expressions were hesitant, uncertain whose version to believe. I handed them a manila envelope. No words, just evidence. I turned and left. I didn't need their approval. I'd already found my truth. A month later, Lily and I went away. Just the 2 of us, no headlines, no speeches. Just the quiet peace we'd earned. On the flight home, she rested her head on my shoulder and whispered, "You could have burned him in anger. But you dismantled him in silence." I smiled. Because anger fades, but calculated revenge is ice cold. It lasts forever. Daniel was banned from holding any future board position. Vanessa lost her license. I anonymously donated their $30,000 wedding venue deposit to a veterans relief fund. As for the company, we rebranded. We scaled. We thrived. Because I wasn't just the brother he betrayed. I was the storm he never saw coming. Was the revenge justified? Let us know in the comments. Like the story, share it with someone who needs this energy. Subscribe to Lauren's story for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal and justice. Here, every lie meets its reckoning, and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay sharp. Stay strong.